So in this video, I'm going to catch you guys up on some of the new mods that we did on the Ryker, and also the update on the knocking sound that the previous video was all about. Oh, it's windy. It is windy today. Let's see, and then we're changing the point of view today, trying something different. Trying this first-person perspective. First mod I wanted to talk about that I didn't really get to talk in my videos is Chemi Moto cover. That also works with the new mods that we put on it. Let me show you how this thing, and now it's a good test that it's windy. I'm not gonna take the whole thing off, but I'm just gonna unhook the back portion of it. There's another strap here, but we're gonna keep that one intact. It's just to check the oil and show you guys what we did to the bike. I'm gonna also show you some tricks and tips in this video. Let me show you something about oil and this dry sump. So yes, they say you gotta run the bike for some time before checking it. It's not necessarily true if you know what you're doing. If you can accommodate for the little bit of a difference once the oil heats up, and you're gonna learn this by checking it and seeing how much your bike expands from when it's cold to when you actually get it nice and hot, and see the expansion difference. This has been sitting, we are right there when it's cold, so when it heats up it should expand to about there. So we're actually good. I'm not gonna add any oil to it right now. It's actually perfect and gives it a little bit of room for expansion. The worst thing you can do for this is actually overfill it. You want to be between the min and max and not overfill it. Chemi Moto, excellent cover. Let's go put this back, and I'll show you guys a couple of new mods that we did since the last video, and let's talk about the knocking issue. So if those of you that haven't seen my last video, I posted a video. I didn't really talk in it much. It was like a 2-minute video of me after the oil change, taking off at night and going for a little ride. You could hear what sounds like an engine knock. However, it's not an engine knock. And the way I figured that out after talking to a few dealerships, getting a complete runaround, nobody was able to help me much with this issue. So, having said that, I took matters in my own hands and I figured it out. Let me explain how I figured it out. The first question I asked is, I said, when you start the Ryker, I wanted to know what spins at idle. This machine's pretty new to me. I wasn't sure exactly how it's set up. I'm used to a 2013, I'm used to a 2013 Spider. Those have an actual transmission, actual gears, and it's a little bit different there. The Ryker, you have what's called a dual clutch CVT system. I wanted to know at idle if there's anything else that spins that could potentially mimic the knock-in sound and have the same frequency as when the engine is running. And the answer to that is yes, and the way I found this out is by just simply going on YouTube and looking at Bill Ramsire's video on an upgraded belt, and another gentleman's video on how to do a belt. They start the bike. When they start the bike, you could see the clutch spinning at idle. So that's how I knew. I could tell that at idle, when the Ryker is just running, one of your clutches spinning. I forget if it's a secondary or the primary. I believe it's a secondary one, but let me show you guys where it's located. When the engine is idling and it's running, you have a clutch that's up top, and then you have one that's down below here. There's a belt that connects them. So the one that's down below is actually spinning when the engine is spinning. So there is a clutch, there is something that spins. It is a dry clutch. So then I said, well, let's see what other Can-Am, let's Google and let's YouTube Can-Am clutch noise. So I did that, and an Outlander came up, a bunch of other videos came up, and a guy actually shows, he grabs the clutch on the bottom. There's two housings that sit like this, and there's a little bit of rattle because there's weights inside on these arms. And there's cross bolt and there's a nylon lock washer, and there's a little bit of rattle between these two pieces of metal, this one and this one. They go like that. I'm exaggerating it, but he grabs it and he kind of does it, and it makes the same exact noise as my bike was making. And that night I remember rolling the bike back and forth, and I had it in forward, or maybe it wasn't all the way in forward. I might have just disturbed the clutch a little bit, and so it needed to give it gas for it to come back together and like grab basically, and all that noise to go away. But what people do to remedy it, they put nylon washers on those cross bolts to hold the two pieces of clutch housing together, and those arms with the weights. I don't think that's a good idea, because when this gets really hot and it expands, if you really tighten it down, then those weights on arms, they're not going to freely flop around anymore in there, and I believe that could potentially seize your clutch. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. I haven't heard the noise since that time. It's not the engine. So for those of you guys who have been wondering what the noise was, there you have it. It's the one of the clutches that's down below. I believe it's the secondary clutch, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the smaller of the two, and it's the one that's spinning with the engine at idle. There's no problem really. I believe the engineers meant for it to do that, to give it a little bit of leeway for when it gets hot. Having said that, I don't think it's a problem. I'm not taking it in for warranty work. I'm not letting the dealership touch it. I wanted to show you guys some of the cleaning products I used. This is Mcguire's quick detailer. I had the bottle that kind of cracked on me, so I poured it into a water bottle. Clean the bike with a microfiber and this first. A lot of you guys asked me online how I keep it so clean looking. Then I go over it with this Ultimate Black. I put it over all the black plastics and everything, right? This stuff works amazing. And then I clean your seat and the handlebars and like the pedals and a few other things with this. And this also helps protect it from UV and things like that. Some of the products I use here. We picked up a max mount. That's one of the mods we got. Got the max mount and got the passenger seat. Comes with these foot pegs for the passenger. When you order this seat, I notice some people don't get this with it, which means you also may not get this. There's a part right here. I don't know if you could see it, but that part bolts here. It braces the underneath. Some of the tricks I'm going to tell you guys is this. If you end up getting a max mount first and you install it first, there's 4 bolts. There's one here, there's one there, and there's 2 more on the other side. Get yourself a tap and die kit. Make sure the threads are clean, and clean them out before torquing down these bolts, because a lot of people have known to snap these bolts. My threads were perfect. It's a California bike, so I didn't have any issues with that. I didn't even have to chase them. But if yours are on the East Coast maybe, or your Ryker maybe is a 2019 or something, you just now decided to put the max mount on, chances are your threads could be clogged and you will snap your bolt if you torque it down. Also, don't use a torque wrench on this. Go by feel, because torque wrench, depending on what kind, they could be very, very off. And the cheaper Harbor Freight ones are very inaccurate, and you can way overshoot the torque specs and snap your bolts that way. However, that piece on the bottom is not going to fit. It's going to fight you if these 4 bolts are tight. So you have to loosen these up a little bit, then put that in, tighten that up, then tighten these up, okay? Another thing, this seat is a nightmare. Brand new. It does not want to go on. So have a rubber mallet. You're going to want to put a little bit of WD-40 on here, on there, and here, and mallet as you're pushing this down. That's a trick. You have to start putting pressure on this and start hitting it in a downward this way position. You'll see this lock in. Once that locks in, it's in and it's solid. So we installed that. I also picked up a tool that adjusts your suspension here, and I went up from the lowest notch to the next notch up to put a little bit more preload on this spring, because there's 2 of us now. My lady rode with me the other day, and she's a tiny little thing, so it didn't affect the weight that much, and I probably weigh about $150, $160. She's about 95 pounds on a good day. So between the 2 of us, we are right around 260 pounds. On the first setting, it's fine. I may go up just 1 more. And we have a little bit of about 2-3 finger clearance once she's on it. Nothing to worry about there. It's all good to go. What else? Oh yeah, my most exciting thing that I recently got and I just installed is this Silver Turbos. It's called a electronic bypass muffler. So it has a straight dump out the bottom, out the side, and it has a dual chamber muffler that has baffles inside, and I actually left an additional baffle that they supply that's optional. And you also have a tip that you can rotate and get the desired angle that you want. Beautiful exhaust, excellent work, TIG welded stainless steel. Couldn't have been happier. I haven't ridden with it yet. I just installed it. We've been having this nasty heat wave. Even at night it was too hot to ride. So I'm hoping to take it out for a ride maybe tonight or tomorrow. Once I do that, you guys will be the first ones to see the video. Of course, my initial thoughts, maybe a quick review. We'll talk about power increase or torque loss or increase, if any, and from the butt dyno, of course. And I'm very in tune on my machine, so I usually am able to tell if there's even 1 or 2 pounds loss or gain. So I'll be very transparent with you guys in that sense. We'll get you some sound clips with my new audio capturing equipment, so that'll be fun. And of course, go for a little ride. Well, that's about it. I think I'm gonna pack her up. That's all I wanted to say for this video. So if you guys have any kind of clutch noise, don't freak out. It's not gonna fall apart. There's really nothing to these clutches. The Ducati dry clutches actually sound a lot worse. There's really nothing to worry about, guys. Just so coincidentally happened to make the noise after the oil change, and that was the reason really for me just kind of freaking out about the whole situation, just simply because of the timing. The old me never believed in coincidences. I guess I believe in them now, which is completely bizarre for it to have happened that day. But my only explanation, logical explanation as to why the clutch was doing that is either because the metals cooled at a very different rate, or because I rolled the bike back and forth a few times because I spilled some oil after I was doing the oil change, and I could have possibly disturbed the inner clutch alignment, just the way they were meshed together, those two pieces. And also it makes me wonder if the engineers really wanted those two pieces of clutch housing to be so tight as people remedy it with their fixes. I believe the engineers would have just made it tight to begin with. They wouldn't have made a bolt the way they did. They wouldn't have made the threads the way they did. Nylon lock nut. Having said that, I have my own reasons to believe that these clutches were never meant to be so tight, and it's okay for them to make a little bit of noise. Not a problem. It's not gonna hurt anything. In my honest opinion, it's not gonna hurt anything. And I will link the video in the description below of the one that you guys can listen and compare the noise. And there's a lot of Outlanders, brand new other Can-Ams that run a similar clutch, if not the same exact clutch as Ryker, and it makes noise with no miles, 800 miles, 1,000 miles. And all the ones that I saw tend to have made the noise at their younger stages. So it seems to me that after a while the noise actually goes away, and that explains the metals expand a little bit, maybe with use, or a little bit of grime and dirt gets in there, because you're actually supposed to clean your clutches and the belt and all that stuff, or replace the belt, but you could also clean the belt. And that tells me that they made little tolerances for the grime to simply get in there and not interfere with anything, like in that sense. That's all I have for you guys today. Later on tonight, I can't wait to fire this sucker up and go on a little test drive with the Silver bypass electronic tunable muffler. And also I have a header, and I'll be getting a tune from Bill as soon as I can afford to do so. And I may even get a tune from Silver also, and kind of run them both and see which one, you know, works better, which one I like better with the Power Vision 3. All right, guys, well, going back inside. It's too damn hot out here. We'll catch you in the next video.